Everybody, welcome to our podcast today. We have our guest today, one of our good friends, Lewis, I think it's Mansfield, Texas, is where you're based out of, right, Lewis?
Yeah, that's where my brokerage is, but I do business throughout the Dallas Fort Worth area.
Nice, nice. So I just want to bring up the fact that Lewis has closed over 100 transactions. I mean, hundreds of transactions even, and doing it all as a dual career agent and actually focusing on real estate and also being a police officer and protecting the community. So he chose two roles on how he actually gives back to the community. Lewis, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm honored.
No, we're honored to have you, sir. Thank you for your services and thank you for all you do. I just want to touch a little bit about I know there's a lot of people out there and you seem to be doing it really well, the whole dual career. Tell us a little bit how you find success in, just actually closing transactions and also running your full-time gig.
Don't sleep. Sleeping is for the weak.
Sleepings for the week.
Seriously, it took me a while to finally get down because in the beginning, when I first got into real estate, I'm really the one thing I love about real estate is the relationships, and I've always been a people person. I have a lot of friends in the department, and as you get into real estate and you get into coaching and things, you kind of learn how to cultivate your relationships. That's one thing I did at the beginning, and I've been pretty successful where I average probably about 40 deals a year, and I think part of that was in the beginning as you start. If people remember when they start out and they start growing their business and little by little they're getting more and more deals, it's like, hey, I'm getting stretched thin. And I think one of the main things that I did that benefited me the most was getting a full-time admin. Like right now, I would not, my first couple of years, I was doing 15, 20 deals. And then as you're growing and you're learning more about the business over time, it's like, man, you can't keep working at night because that is my schedule. I work at night and then, I open my days up in order to do real estate. And one of the main things is I personally have a full-time in-person admin. Yeah. I don't do the VA because nothing wrong with the VAs. I like having the relationship where I can call her and say, "Hey, this is what I need you to do." Because now I have a pretty set schedule, and that's one thing about doing being the dual careers. Like you have to stick to a schedule, have to. So as soon as I get off work, I go straight to bed. And it's funny because people are like, "Man, you never get off late." I said, "No, I can't." There's a lot of guys at work that we get off at 7 a.m., but they're getting overtime because they got a later rest or whatever it may be. And I was like, they can have it. I don't want any part of that because I got to be asleep because I know I got to get up at probably 11:30. 11:30 the latest. And by then, first person I call is my admin. And she's like, oh, she has access to my emails and she's already responding to everything. Phone calls she really doesn't respond to. I typically will take care of those as soon as I get up while I'm on a Zoom with her. But I will say for people as they grow their business, having a full time admin is so beneficial. At least for me, it is with the dual career because I would look horrible. You know how we try to present ourselves in front of our clients like we got everything together. And I would never be able to do that now if I didn't have her because she handles everything. We even have this funny thing now where I told her the other day, I was like, man, I wish we would have started this years ago. But every time I take on a new client, I have group text, with the husband and wife. Well, I had her on there because in the morning, those 9, 10 o'clock mornings when you have clients calling you and texting you, she responds to everything because I'm asleep. And so I don't tell them that, but she takes care of quite a bit for me. So yeah, she's a vital part of my business currently.
That's awesome. I mean, just to give, our audience a little color about, what your schedule looks like, because you hit the nail on the head. You really got to manage your time, especially when you are dual career. What exactly does your schedule look like so people can understand, you know, what you actually have on your plate and still able to be successful?
I work Monday through Thursday. The schedule is nine. I go in at 9 p.m. and I get out at 7 a.m. And I'm off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But prior to that, I was off Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, same hours. So my schedule, I've had weekends off for a little bit now. But yeah, working nights and then, you got to get your little bit of sleep in the morning, and then you start your day. And people have asked me at work, like, why haven't you done this or why haven't you moved around or go into a bureau or be a detective. And I was just like, I really enjoy real estate, and it's very it's financially rewarding. Uh, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing. Plus, it works out good for the family as well. So
I'm curious, Louis. I know you served in the military, and thank you again for your service. How did that help you with your real estate career? And did you get any habits that you were able to apply into real estate just from the military background, or even serving the community in the police department?
I would say the first two that come to mind is like the discipline, because before the military, I was very undisciplined. So man, horrible habits, lazy, it's that, if for people who are in the military, they can probably relate, is just, you get very disciplined because that's the whole reason for basic training is they break you down in order for you to understand, like, this is your world now,
Mhm.
it's being in the military. Um, if you didn't have discipline prior to that, you will when you get through with basic and your time in. And then the other thing was, you know, I personally think attention to detail. You guys are, I feel like you guys are the same. Like, attention to detail is just like so vital. Every little thing. It's just, us as, whether you're a team lead or you're solo and with an admin or whatever the role is, it's just attention to detail for us is just super vital. And I feel like those are probably the two key things that takeaways that I can say that really stuck with me the most.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
no,
And I know that you touched on, how you've leveraged from like 15 to 20 transactions a year. And I know you average around like 40 or 50 now a year. And your admin has been a big part of that. And you seem like, that's really what took you to the next level, right? Now, for the people out there that don't have an admin yet, yours is in person. Where did you find your admin?
Funny story. I was at my son's, I'd been looking for one. Mind you, I had already gone through 2 in-person ones that just didn't work out, and it is what it is. And at the same time, I'm still learning how to be in not in how to have an admin, it's like I had a coach while I've had coaching with, Club Wealth, and I've also had another coach who did, business consulting, really good friend of mine. And, he's like, "You're not telling what you need to tell your admin to do." And I was like, "I don't know what to tell her to do. I'm still learning," So I think that, I contribute the first 2 admins to, a little bit of both. We're both to blame. But the third one, my girlfriend went to a, gala for our brokerage, and, I didn't go because I was in San Antonio with my son's baseball at the time. My son was playing baseball everywhere and every weekend. And so, we were over there, and she, accepted an award for me or whatever. The table she sat at, my admin was there, and my girlfriend's very chatty. So starts talking to her, and she's young, not doing but maybe a couple of deals a year. I think it was her second year in real estate. So, anyways, my girlfriend mentioned her to it. And I was like, well, because my girlfriend knows I was looking for an admin, somebody who's young in that same role, who's willing to hustle, maybe doesn't do a lot of deals, who's looking to make some money. And, you can't find the ones that are doing as many deals as you or more. They're not, that's not going to fit. You got to find one that's, just getting started and who wants to hustle. And luckily, like, man, it was a blessing. I really was. And I don't mean this in any way, but she doesn't have kids. She's by herself, no boyfriend. She's a young Vietnamese girl. She's super cool. And, if she ever watches this, I'm giving her a shout out because she loves praise. So but yeah, that's how I found her. Just word of mouth, and I called her up and we had a long talk about, what my goal was and what her goals were for real estate, and where she wanted to be in the next 5 years. And I was like, hey, I can help you. This is what I'm looking for and this is where I want to be. And I will say our goals aligned quite a bit. And, she was never looking to be in a super, like, I wanna do 20, 30 deals plus, kinda role. She enjoys the admin work, but she likes doing deals too. She wants to make a certain amount of money. And, I think we've accomplished that over the years, because she does help me on some deals here and there too, where she'll take on a client for me.
Awesome. I love that. And I know as a dual career agent, because I've been there too, it is a struggle, right? It's a struggle and it's a lot of sacrifice at the same time. You're obviously working almost 80 plus hours a week, right? Were there any moment in your career that you wanted to quit? And how did you manage to keep yourself in the business, even though it was so difficult? And you're running pretty much on caffeine, I would think, most of the time, just so because you're only getting what, like 4 hours of sleep, if any. So how do you manage that?
Well, one at work, I use quite a bit of my PTO. Like I take off pretty often just to catch up on sleep. If I get off of work, you have those clients that want to go look at houses at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, God dog it. And I'm getting off at 7. So I was like, there goes my day. And I do it, and I go throughout the whole day, and then I pick up my son. So I pick up my son still from school, and sometimes I just have to call in that night because I have nothing left. I'm exhausted, and I got to. And so there are those days, and then overall, to answer your question, it's just I've always wanted to be the guy, like, I got that t-shirt. I did, what's that saying where, I did that, I got the t-shirt or whatever. There's a saying for that. I can't remember, but I've always wanted to retire from the police department. There's actually several officers that I know who've left, whether it's been 10, 15, 16 years on, and they've left and they've gone into real estate. I'm not the only one. I'm probably one of the few that stayed. But they've all left. And it's like, I didn't want to be that guy who wanted to retire. I want to get my 20 years. I want to get my retirement badge. And so, like, I'm like a year and a half away finally. And so that's just a goal, personal goal that I wanted to do. I could have left years ago, and been fine, but it's just not what I wanted. That's one reason. The culture, the people there really isn't the job anymore, because I'm not, I'm over. I just go to work. I'm very kind of, I love the job, but the people are kind of what's kept me around, because you kind of there is a brotherhood, a camaraderie that you have with your coworker. And, I know I would miss that. I wasn't quite ready, but I'm getting there. And so, those are kind of some of the factors that kind of keep me there. Trust me, I've thought about leaving a few times, more than a few times, just because, you're just like, man, I'm doing good and I'm exhausted. But, those things have really kept me there.
Love that. Yeah, it's definitely, it sounds like you have a great environment where you work, and I'm sure that definitely helps keeping you there. And it's great, like you're so close to the retirement year, and at that point your business is already established. Well, one other question that I was just thinking about, like, where are you finding business? Is most of your business sphere people that you've networked with, or is it more paid online leads or ads or things of that nature? How are you able to manage to close an average 40 transactions a year, and where you're getting business from?
Majority, I would say about 80% of my business is sphere and repeat business. For some of my clients, I'm on transaction number 3 or 4, and so I never want to be that. It's funny when you work with somebody who's bought property before and you look it up and they like, oh, they use a different realtor. This is your first time. And it's like, if you don't keep these relationships up, somebody else going to start a relationship with them like me and start and take that business. But yeah, majority of it is just sphere referral. And I've set a good foundation in order to keep consistent. I do get a lot of, I take that back. I get a few. I don't do open houses, unfortunately, because of my scheduling. I do get some Google LSA or Google. No, I'm sorry, Google My Business. I do get some here and there. I used to get a little bit more years past. I probably get maybe 2, maybe 3 deals a year out of that. But yeah, majority of it is fear. And like I said, I've laid a pretty good foundation. I do all the things that the events, the pop buys, the I send out. I'm very personal with a lot of people. I network a lot, and I sponsor galas. I sponsor, golf tournaments, and my face is out there. And especially my niche is law enforcement and veterans. And so, especially within the Dallas Police Department, like, people, they might not know me, but they've heard of me. So I just try to keep doing each year I try to do a better job of making sure I'm out there. And then I started a new podcast which I had my friend who's a consultant. We were talking about stuff one time, and he's like, "Man," he goes, "you're getting close to retirement. You need a way to stay top of mind with these people and like you will always be there." And he's like, "You need to get a YouTube channel and you need to do this and that." And we talked about it, and then I stole everything from Sean Evans and the Hot Ones. Like, so I mean, I don't know how the idea came up, but it came up between the two of us. And so now I do like a Hot Wings challenge interview, and I bring on two people from the department. And I wasn't sure the first season how the reaction would be. And man, I have guys that I don't even know who they are. They'll see me at the jail. I'll be doing a report and they're like, hey, I love the show. I'm like, oh, thanks. And then there were some rookies, which, oh, I love this. There were a few rookies that came in, and I know who all the rookies are because when they come to a station, they're in training. You can tell who they are. I had two of them say, "Hey, man, you're coming up on my TikTok. I see your show. I love it." And I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm thinking to myself, "You're going to buy a house here in a couple of years, buddy." And so so that's kind of like it keeps me very relevant in the PD because I'm just interviewing their peers and people who they know, and I switch it up. And so my friend was right. He's like, if you keep this up and you do it right, it could be like a 10x. Like you do this, you're gonna keep getting business, keep doing the other things you're doing. And so that's probably the newest thing on my plate now. So I do that. I interview in the summer. Yeah, I do all the pre-interviews in the summertime. In the fall, I do all the filming, and then in the spring, January, I start releasing all the episodes. I have to do a
Nice.
season. Unfortunately, I don't have the bandwidth to do like a weekly or monthly deal. I just do whatever episodes I plan. That's it.
That's great. That's great. I love the fact that you mentioned that 80% of your business is pretty much sphere, return clients, and things of that nature. I know you talked about, your events and pop-bys, but you're having great success doing that. What type of events are you doing for your past clients in Sphere? Or what type of pop-up ideas could you give some of the audience?
So for guys who are anybody that's marketing to like first responders, honestly, I love feeding them. You go to wherever their locations at, whether it's a station, firehouse, whatnot. I mean, you can't go wrong as far as a pop by bringing them food, and that's my go-to. You know, I tried other things in the past where I'd bring gifts, something like, nah, you bring them food, everybody's gonna get something. You're gonna, though you typically give you a few minutes to, give your sales pitch, and that's, I do have a leg up because I know people, and so I can get in. But even if you didn't, like, just I've seen other people that come in and sell insurance or other things, and it's no different. They come into the station, they bring food or whatever, and then they get to do their sales pitch. And it's just being consistent, whether they you get a lead or not, like the consistency is just one of those things. The events that I do within the police department, there's a couple of galas. I sponsor one, and then I do we have a few golf tournaments and clay shoots. So what I do now is I'll get a couple of past clients, and then I'll get a couple of like maybe people in my pipeline or people who I know might be looking here soon. And then I'll invite them. I say, "Hey, are you interested in clay shooting?" And they're like, "Yeah, I'd love to." And I say, "Hey, I got a team." And usually I'll give them some swag. I'll give them a hat, shirt, and then I sponsor the team. Same thing with the golf tournament. And I'll be out there for both events. Typically, I'll play too. I'll sponsor two teams for golf because I got to play. But yeah, just loving on your clients here and there. I mean, it's been very successful because I get, everybody's like, Luis Pacheco or the team is Point Man Real Estate Team, and people one or the other they hear that, and I try to do that every year consistently. Every year I sponsor the same golf tournaments in my calendar, same clay shoots coming up in April, and we're out there every year. And you get to know, the more you do that, the more you get to know these event coordinators, and they start like, they start referring you. They know you're the guy for real estate, and I'm the only realtor that they allow to sponsor. There's other vendors, but I'm the only realtor. But those are some of the things that I like to do that within the police department, and I'm sure a lot of police departments are all the same. They all got golf tournaments, and they all, there's ways to love on those clients and just be their top of mind, whether you're bringing snacks or food, or those are probably the most beneficial ones, in my opinion.
Uh,
Those are some of the
Awesome.
things.
Beautiful. And Just touching on that, I mean, with your busy schedule, you're working, overnight, you're serving so many, real estate clients. How often are you doing these type of events or pop-bys?
I schedule them out throughout the year. So like December, January, I was already making calls to the event coordinators. So I'm probably doing a pop by once a quarter along with an event. I'm sorry, along with a sponsorship of some sort. Because I know in April we have a golf tournament, or I'm sorry, clay shoot. I think in May there's a golf tournament. In the when's the Veterans Day? Is that September? Is that September? I think. Well, we have one in there, and then
November, I think. Yeah.
okay, and then along with our events, we do a crawfish boil every year. I do it here at the house. We do a Rangers event. That's in the summertime, like in July. So, you got to keep your schedule pretty busy, to stay top of mind. And so it's unfortunately, I enjoy it, but at the same time, it's a lot of work. And so, but yeah, we stay. There's probably throughout from January, December, there's only a couple of months that we're not doing something, whether it's, we're not doing a pop by or a bit or something of that nature.
So almost monthly, like you guys are doing at least some type of event, sponsorship, pop-by, just one of those type of things. So on a monthly basis, it seems like, except for like the winter months.
Yeah, well, January we're not doing anything this month just because I'm trying to catch up on a few things. But February I got a pop by scheduled. March, we have one place shoot. April, there's another one, and I'm sponsoring a team for each one. I'm already talking to who some of the people that I have some people in my pipeline that I want to invite. And so, and they're really, I've already asked them, they're like, it's funny when you start inviting people because, you're cultivating that relationship with them. And now you're inviting them to a clay shoot and they're like, yeah, I'd like to go. Sure, I'd like to go, And so it just, to me, that's what I feel like it really strengthens relationship to strengthen that relationship. I don't want it to be just transactional. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm just not, one and done and, never see you again. I want to hang out with you. Let's have lunch or let's, grab a beer. Let's, go shoot some clay or golf or whatever.
Very good. And I'm curious, Louis, have you ever thought about starting a team, and what does that look like for you in the future?
I had a small team at one point, but man, from everything I've learned over the years and the way teams are structured, and the way I was doing things, I just, currently I have some agents that work with me and we work
Mm,
very close. Their husbands are officers and their spouses are our agent. And so we work together and then they do. So I promoted, uh, my brand quite a bit, which was a Point Man real estate team. So they will use the Point Man real estate team name because it has become very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's become, I want to say maybe prevalent in the police department in Dallas PD where people know that name and they know, oh, that's the real estate people, like they know that. So one of my really good friends, his wife, she'll market that brand, but we don't do anything like together. We help each other out. But going back to your question, I think once I retire and I have more bandwidth, more time,
yeah.
think, those are considerations that I want to do. I like the team aspect. I like the camaraderie. Um, but man, there's just you guys that our team leads is such a huge role, and training and mentoring, and I like all those aspects. It's just really over the past 2 years, I've really seen that I just don't have the time. And now that I do the podcast stuff, along with everything else, it's just too hard for me right now. I did try it. I was hustling, trying to be a team lead, but man, for you team leads out there, man, my hats off because it's a tough job. But and not only that though, like my deal flow that comes in, my deal flow is I handle me and my admin, we handle everything. And so when I was closing, there was a time when I was closing close to 50 deals, and I had to pass off some deals here and there because it was too much. Then that was okay when we had the team structure. But, right now I can handle everything right now. And so if it gets to a point after I retire and I can get my deal flow back up, then, and not that it's just about leads, but all the other stuff included with being a team lead, then I'd probably consider it because I do like it. I just can't do it right now anymore.
Yeah, it's very hard. It's very hard, especially for a dual career agent, because one of the main reasons too that because I had a similar situation like you, I was a year and a half away from being fully vested into a pension, and I decided to leave because I had a small team at that point, and I knew for a fact that I wasn't going to be able to manage the team or run the team if I go back. And because we were working remote for quite some time during COVID. So when that happened, I decided that gave me more of a reason to not go back to my full time. But like you said, it's very time consuming for sure, because you're not just worrying about your deals, you're worrying about their deals. You got to make sure they're trained properly. You got to hold them accountable and things of that nature. So I agree with you. But, something I think you would make a great team leader, Lewis, in the future. I think once you retire, I think that's something you should definitely think about, since you do have a lot of influx of business that is coming your way.
I appreciate it. Yeah, man. You guys, like I said, my hat's off to you guys because it's a hard job. It's very rewarding, but I just don't have the time anymore.
Yeah.
You're doing a lot. You're doing a lot. I mean, you're working as in a police department, you're a real estate agent. You obviously are a father as well, doing that well. But you're running a podcast. And I remember before you started the podcast, we were talking about, I think it was at Five Star when I came and visited down for Dallas.
Yes.
And you say that it keeps you top of mind. With real estate as well, people just knowing that, you're a real estate agent keeps you top of mind with them. But correct me if I'm wrong, the podcast has nothing to do with real estate, does it?
Nope.
I remember because like everyone out there wants to get into like podcasting and they don't understand that it doesn't have to be real estate related. It can be something that you enjoy doing, which is exactly what you picked, right, Lewis?
Yes. Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your podcast, if you don't mind.
So, I think I had mentioned before when I was talking with one of my friends, he's a consultant, and we were just talking about, he's like, "Oh, you're about to retire, Lewis." I said, "I know," and I said, "What are we going to do?" And he's like, I said, "Man, we're kind of getting, we do get a little burnt out on doing the same thing over and over, and we try to switch it up, even with the pop buys and stuff. I'll go somewhere I hadn't gone before, whatnot. And it's like, man, I need to try something else that, on top of that, and in case just I skip a month or whatever happens, we're human." He said, "You need to get a YouTube channel," and I was like, "Man, that'd be cool, but what are we gonna do?" I didn't want to be doing house showings and this and that, and that's just not my thing. Somehow, some way we came up with if you've ever gone to YouTube and type in hot ones, Sean Evans basically does the hot wings challenge with celebrities. And so you'll see all kinds of celebrities on there, and it's a one-on-one. Well, I happened to be watching it one time, and I think that's when Deadpool and Wolverine came out, and it had Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds on there. And they were doing like, I mean, one of them had a Canadian flag holding up, the other one had American flag. And Sean Evans was doing the interview with both of them. And I was like, man, that's great. I said, I would love to have two people on from the PD. I didn't want to do a one on one because I'm not that good of an interviewer. I said, maybe it'd be good if we had two people on, maybe, that might work. And I said, "That's cool." And I said, "I'll just ask them, the whole premise or the whole idea of the podcast was for you to leave knowing a little bit more about, the officers that we got on. We don't do any bashing of the PD. We don't do, it's not a gotcha kind of show. It's just more of like, hey, we have these people on. I had two SWAT guys on, and we talked about, how they grew up and, things about them. So you would know them more personally. I had two commanders on. I had a chief and a major, which are very high ranking in the police department. And they were hilarious. And they're friends of mine. I've known them for years. I've seen them as they promoted through the ranks. And so I asked them, "Hey, you want to come on?" And they're like, "Yeah." Oh, it was, I got the most views from that one right there on TikTok. But yeah, like there's things about them that I didn't even know. There's one guy, he was getting his degree as a cop. He's a homicide detective, and he went to college for golf management. He was going to be like the semi pro, the pro guy at the golf course who managed, I forget what their title is, but I was like, I didn't even know you played golf. I didn't even know you were. There's other ones that, we just talk about it. You name it, we talk about it. I keep it very quick. I kind of mimicked a lot of Sean Evans show where the background the questioning. His is a lot longer. Mine's probably anywhere between 18 to 22, 23 minutes, and that's it. It's not long. It's just attention span, and I'm not diving deep. I do get personal with some questions. For example, if you could redo something in life, personal or professional, what would you do? Or what's your biggest regrets? And I ask a lot of questions, but I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. It really has nothing to do about real estate.
Yeah.
It's more people watch it, they're like, "Man, I didn't know this person did this or was into that or what kind of food they like," and yeah, it's been pretty successful. We just finished season 2, it's done, and, that was kinda my format, is just I'm gonna do seasonal because I just can't keep up with it. It's a lot of work. For you guys
Yeah.
that podcast regularly, it's a lot of work.
You should have seen us this morning. We were debating this one.
Yeah, I know,
It's
but you know what's
snowing
funny?
outside, so
I
it
know.
makes it difficult to get where you need to get to go to. That's amazing. That's amazing that, you've actually, like, started this podcast. You're able to, get into finish up season 2. I guess you'll be working on season 3 soon, and really, I feel like it's almost like a public service, right? It's like, get to know the people that protect you. Because just like, real estate agents, I think police officers also get like a bad image about them, right? And it's great to, understand who's actually out there serving you and protecting the community. That's awesome that you actually are doing that. And it's great that you're also top of mind with people in real estate by doing something that's just totally not real estate related. And it's really just about being consistent with it and doing something that you enjoy, right? And just being in front of them, face to face, people just looking at you is what's keeping you top of mind. And then from that, you get business out of it, which is awesome. But yeah, kudos to you, man. Being able to do it all, Louis. My God. You're
Appreciate
like
it.
the superhero in Dallas.
Sure.
Brad Burns, guys know Brad
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ross. And Brad's like, man, this is a contact sport. He goes, we need to be having these conversations. These conversations today are what's, and it's so true. He's like, these conversations today are what's, your deals or your leads coming in from 60 to 90 days from now. And I was like, yes, so you're right. And funny, last night, me and my girlfriend went to this gala and I didn't sponsor it or anything, but we went with some friends and I was leaving and some of the girls there's some ladies that I know and they were like, hey, come here. And I was like, hey, what's up? And, I'm cool with them, but I'm not like, we don't ever talk. We just see when we see each other in person, we say, hey, how are you doing? They're like, hey, we want to be on the show. And they're both drunk and giggling. They're like, we want to be on the show. And I was like, and so
That's awesome.
I know. And the guy next to him was like, yeah, he goes, me and my buddy want to be on it too. Cause he plays hockey on the side. There's like some law enforcement teams that they do like hockey and football. And so he goes, I want my partner who plays hockey with me. We want to promote our show and come on there because they're both law enforcement. And I said, cool. And I was like, I told the girls, I said, I got you. So you'll be on
Love
this.
that.
But yeah, but like those are people probably I'll reach out to for season 3, like probably in the spring, early summer. I'll start reaching out to folks and be like, hey, let's do it and setting up appointments for interviews and doing all that. But yeah, I mean, and it just so makes me feel good that when I see that, I'm like, okay, it's working. Like people enjoy it. People aren't like they're not bashing it. They're not saying no, that sucks or anything like that. And I got people who are like, hey, I want to be on it and it just makes me feel good, and I feel like okay, this was worth it.
So good. I have one last question for you, Lewis. And if you were to get dropped off on an island or another state altogether, and you were starting your whole career all over again, what would you do? Like, where would you go first? How would you restart your real estate career for anybody that's listening or just getting into real estate?
Ooh, good question, man. Excuse me. If I'm going to do the same thing I'm doing now and focus on, for me personally, focus on first responder veterans, I would probably go on Eventbrite and Facebook and see what any kind of networking event is because that's probably the first place I would start. Is like, okay, let me see if there's a golf tournament that's somewhat law enforcement related. You'll know when you read the title or whatever nonprofit that's associated with there if they're doing an event, and I would make it a point to go and get to know people. And I think the networking is probably what the first thing I would do. I mean, I know the lowest hanging fruits, open houses, and this, and what, and cold calling. But for me personally, I think, I know what to say and do in order to get in, and I think relationships go a long way, and so I'm looking like my goal, I don't want that lowest hanging fruit at the moment. Like, my goal is to get to know these people and network, and start establishing relationships somehow and get into those groups so I can say, "Hey, can I, bring you guys some food? I'd love to get to know you guys a little bit better," or, just, establish myself rather, because that's essentially what I did. I just established myself as the go-to realtor within the department. And there's other realtors, trust me, I ain't the only one. There are other one. Those guys, they really do it like here and there. My focus is like I'm hitting it hard in comparison to the other guys.
So good. And I love the fact that you said that again, like you're not doing anything differently, because what most people would do, they would try so many different things, but they don't stay consistent with it. But you found what works for you and you just keep doing it. You don't keep trying different things all the time, or let me dabble with this, let me dabble with this. You know that events and holding events and Popeyes worked for you, and you just ended up scaling that at a very high level, and this is how your business is running. I mean, there isn't like one right way to do this business. Yes, we preach a lot, like me and Sharif preach a lot about cold calling, open houses, following up, which I'm sure you also follow up with all the people that you do come across. There isn't just one way. Like you found success in this, and that's great. You're just capitalizing on it and you scaled it. But what most people will do wrong is just they start doing a little bit of everything and they don't do anything well and they don't stay consistent with it, which I think this is the reason why you became very successful in what you're doing.
Definitely.
Yeah, I always hear of agents that are successful with, you name it, Google SA, cold calling, mailers, whatever it is, and if whatever works for that agent, and if it's working, then just keep scaling on that, and then you have the ones that are very get a lot of referrals, they're very referral based, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you can keep scaling on that and just keep pushing that to grow, I think that's for me, that's what's worked. That's like I said, I get the other percentage of business is the family members that I get, the referrals from those, and then a little bit from other things, but majority of it is fear because I do a lot of networking. I can talk, bro.
That's great. I mean, really, there's hundreds of ways to do this, right? There's hundreds of ways to find clients. I think what I'm hearing here is you really got to pick like two or three and master those, right? Like, if you're going to be the open house person, or if you're going to be the pop by person, if you're going to do events, you got to niche down, right? Know your community, know what you're good at, and just double down on it. That's really it. I mean, don't look at all those shiny new toys out there. Like, I remember when LSA came out. Thankfully, I jumped on earlier in the game, so we have a very, well developed, LSA platform now. I remember when it started getting popular and everybody jumped on it, and everyone thought, "Oh, it's shiny new toy. This is how everybody's getting business right now," and the majority of the people weren't successful with it. And it's all about picking what you're good at, picking things that you want to focus on and just sticking to it and being consistent with it. You've done it so well, Lewis. Thank you for that. For
I
the people
appreciate it.
out there, that are interested in this podcast, I mean, I'm just picturing like cops, and like I'm hearing the theme song "Bad Boys" in my head now. Which I know it's nothing to do anything like that, right? But what is the name of the podcast? And give us a little information in case anyone out there wants to go ahead and take a
So the podcast name is Paws Contact, Pause, and then contact. So, and then it came from, oh my gosh, if you can imagine, whenever you're trying to name something, like, oh, we go through all these ideas. And, at work, we have our body cams. And so typically, whenever we, like, let's say that we're on a scene and we need to walk away and we're having a conversation between officers or a group of us, we turn it off. So we typically will call out, we'll say pause contact. And so, if somebody was auditing the video, they would see, okay, they're going to talk. And then later on, when we go back into the scene, we turn it back on and it's recording. And then when you're done with the scene, you say end of contact, so they know, okay, there's no more after that. And the body cam will pick up on that. So the whole reason we do the pause contact was because we're getting my mind is like, hey, we're stepping away from the chaos and we're sitting here. Basically, it's our time to bullshit half the time. Well, we're here bullshit. We're done with the scene, but we're not completely done. And so we're sitting there BSing or whatever. And so that was that was the reason for the name was a pause contact. And if you look at the bio, it's like, we take a pause from the chaos and get to know these officers who serve, the DFW Metroplex. So it just, that's kind of where it came from. And but it kind of stuck. Everybody's like, oh, it's pause contact. And everybody at work, well, at least at DPD, they all know what that means. It's like, let's pause our body cams and we can sit over here and bullshit and hang out and talk and get to know each other and whatnot. So if you go to
Amazing.
pause contact on YouTube, you'll find it.
That's awesome. So it was well thought out.
So good. Also, as far as remind the audience again what city you serve and how can they reach out to you, like maybe social media or phone number, anything like that, if they do have a client over there that's looking to either buy or sell.
Oh man, I love referrals, man. Referrals is my middle name. It's
Mhm.
you'll find me on Louis Pacheco on Facebook. You could also see me on Instagram, and that's typically Louis Pacheco, Point Man Real Estate Team. The YouTube channel is Pause Contact, and my number's 214-949-2040. And catch me anytime,
Awesome.
day or night.
Perfect. And just so everyone knows, Lewis is our go-to agent in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I mean, I think, Peter, didn't you just refer something a couple weeks ago as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, no, we reached out to him, and unfortunately, that seller, we made the connection. But yes, he's definitely our go-to for anything that's in the Dallas area.
I appreciate
Perfect.
you guys. You guys are
You
Of
awesome.
got it.
course. Of course. Well, thank you again, Lewis. Really appreciated you coming in. I know it's an hour earlier for you, and appreciate you waking up earlier for us on. Oh, well, I know you wake up early regardless, right? But
Probably
doing
didn't
this
go
on
to
a Sunday
sleep
morning.
yet.
Yeah.
Oh, we went out last night, so I made sure. I told my girl, I said, I can't get drunk tonight. I cannot. I gotta get up.
Well, thanks for sacrificing that for us.
Saturday night.
Oh my
Sacrifice your
gosh, yeah.
time.
She's like, you gotta watch your drinking. I said, yes, I got a Zoom in the morning.
Oh, this is awesome. Thank you again, man. And I'm sure we'll be chatting soon again.
All right, guys. Thank you so much again for having me on here. I truly appreciate it. Y'all, so guys, stay warm.
Thank you. Take
All right,
care, bro.
you guys.
See you guys later. People just sign up.